Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name's Linda Davy, and I work with the Oracle team at the city. And what our department does is work with other agencies to implement and streamline business processes using Oracle. So today we're introducing a new process. Currently, it's for ARPA invoices, but we are going to be rolling it out to all invoices that have POs. So this will not be applicable to non-PO just yet, but so this is ARPA, we're rolling out July 1st. And then after that, we don't have an implementation plan date for when we're going to roll it out for all other invoices. But I am going to go ahead. If Joe, you have a minute, if you can just introduce yourself and any opening remarks you want to make, and then I'll introduce others.
Absolutely. I'm Joe Robinson. I am the ARPA Agency Chief Financial Officer for City of Detroit. We are rolling this process out to assist with efficiencies within the city, to assist suppliers with timely payments, receipt of their payments, and to be able to track the communications back and forth between city and the suppliers. And all communications going forward at this point will be in Oracle. So this that part of the process Linda's going to explain to you, but that's sort of in a nutshell, the summary of what we're going to be doing going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We also have Lindsay on the call. Lindsay, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi there. Lindsay Wallace. I'm with the Office of Development and Grants, and Grants has been supporting finance and Linda's team in this process. And I think to Joe's point, it's exactly that. We're trying to minimize communication through email and put everything through Oracle so we can measure that and ensure that we are doing prompt payment and nothing is getting stuck in somebody's email, essentially. So welcome.
Thank you, Lindsay. And we have Cedric on the call. I believe he's still on. Do you want to try one more time, Cedric, and see if we can hear you? If not, I can introduce you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and Cedric McCree from Office of Contracts and Procurement. Sorry, I fumbled there, is on the call. So if you have any questions, you can absolutely ask Cedric, and we'll be communicating with Cedric, it looks like, through chat. So let me get started and welcome. Thank you for joining. We already did the introductions. And we're going to go over the new process, and it'll become clear after we do the demonstration what's expected of the suppliers. And we are going live with this for ARPA projects July 1st. And then we will have time for question and feedback, but still feel free to also, anytime you have a question, to raise your hand and we can bring your question in at that time. So basically what's happening is no longer will you be submitting your invoices and supporting documentation prior to creating your invoice in Oracle. So right now, a lot of discussion is done on the phone and through emails. A lot of exchange between what documents are needed are done. This is all going to be brought into Oracle. And the reason is so that we can have a history and documentation of what's going on, but also so that we can keep track of where these invoices are in the process so that they're not getting hung up in someone's review, or if we're waiting for information from you, we would know that. So just moving forward, all communication regarding the invoice will be conducted through Oracle. That doesn't mean you can't call your rep for questions. It just means that any approvals and reviews and everything are done in Oracle. And when we need information from you, we will ask for it in Oracle. And the reason we're doing this is it really streamlines the invoice reviews and approvals. As mentioned a couple of times, we want to make sure there isn't anything waiting in the process. We want to really enhance and accelerate the payment to you. It also centralizes all the communication within Oracle, and it provides visibility. And the biggest thing that it provides visibility for is how are we doing in processing these invoices and getting the payments to our suppliers. And we will have statistics on that, and we will be able to take a look at our processes and understand where we can improve. I kind of already went through this slide, but from the submission of invoice through payment is what we're talking about. And we have been doing this as a pilot project for some time now. So we worked through everything that needs to be worked through. And if you run into any issues, you can absolutely, I'll give you contacts at the end of this presentation, but you can absolutely contact your city rep through ARPA or OCP or accounts payable. So we are going live July 1st. And just to go over the approval invoice life cycle, just first, the invoice will be submitted by the supplier in Oracle. The approval process will be initiated. And what that means is it'll go through a series of internal reviews, and each reviewer will review and approve. If they need any information from you, they will ask you for it through Oracle. Once the invoice is fully approved, and that's fully approved by Joe, it will be receipted by the city. Then there's a validation process, and the invoice is paid. So one of the things I mentioned that we'll be doing in the Oracle application, and I will demonstrate this, is you will be asked to provide information to the city. So if someone's reviewing your submittal and they have a question or they need more documentation, they're going to send you a notification and you will receive that in Oracle. You have several actions you can take before you submit back the information, and we'll go through those. But one is you can absolutely see the invoice that we're talking about. You can view where the invoice has been and who has approved it so far. If you want to add additional comments or attachments that aren't requested, you can do that. And then finally, you'll submit information. And once you submit the information, it'll be returned back to the requester and it'll no longer be in your queue. So one thing to know that both internally and with suppliers, if information is requested and there is not a response within 3 days, you will receive an email reminder to respond, and you'll receive that reminder every day thereafter until you do respond. And I'll show you some ways to find what's in your queue when we do the demonstration. This is the example of the email that you'll receive. It basically says this is a reminder to submit information requested. You can go to this link that's in the email and go directly to that approval that's waiting for you. So you can open that up and respond. One of the things that can happen is that the invoice can be rejected, and we'll talk about what constitutes a rejection, but you will also receive an email notification. You will not be notified in Oracle. You'll receive an email from the city, and your next step will be to create and submit a new invoice. Basically what you do today. So the only time the city should be rejecting an invoice is if the amount that was entered when you created the invoice does not match the supporting documentation. So for example, if the invoice amount that was submitted was 10,000 and the supporting documentation is only 5, the invoice will be rejected. That's because it's not possible to correct the amount in the system. We can ask for more documentation through the system, but we can't correct the invoice amount that you submit. This is what the email rejection notice is going to look like. It'll just let you know that which invoices or invoice has been rejected. It'll give you the invoice information. It'll also let you know any comments that the person who rejected it gave you, and you'll have a link to the attachments. And then what you'll need to do is to go in and create a new invoice, and I'm going to go into that in just a second. What we'd like is the resubmitted invoice to have the original invoice number with an extension of RESX, and RES is for resubmitted, and X will mean the resubmission attempt. So for instance, if your original invoice is 123456 and the extension is 2, this means this is the second time that this invoice has been resubmitted. It just helps provide more information about the invoice. Any questions so far? Okay, I am going to share a video next, and this is about a new feature that's available in the supplier portal called the Supplier Portal Advisor. And it's an excellent tool for when you're working or you have questions about city policies or procedures or how to do a certain transaction in Oracle. You can ask the advisor and it will provide the information to you and you can follow the steps. If that information that's provided does not answer your question fully, we will always have the contacts at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. Please let me know if you can hear the sound.
I cannot hear the sound, Linda.
Okay, yeah, I just did it. Let me do it. Portal Advisor. Hang on. Thank you. This video introduces the new support feature in Oracle for suppliers. It is called the Supplier Portal Advisor. The advisor is available. I did that yesterday too. I tried to turn off the camera and then it takes it. So sorry. To answer your questions regarding the Oracle process, and it is easy to use. The first step that's recommended is to duplicate your supplier portal page. This is because you can have one page for asking questions and another page for doing the work. So how you do this is you go up to your tab, the supplier portal tab, right-click and select duplicate. Now you see you have another tab with the Supplier Portal Advisor. Navigate to the supplier portal. You may have to log in again. And go up to the Supplier Advisor area up here in the top left. What you want to do is navigate over to the right, select Ask Oracle. You can ask it one of the predefined questions here or ask your own. So I'm going to ask it, how do I find out the status of my invoice? Hit enter or select the up arrow. Oracle will start looking for the answer, and you'll see these 3 dots here. After Oracle has selected the answer, it will display it on the screen. And now you can look at the steps for checking the status of your invoice. Notice the first step is to duplicate your browser, which we have already done. So you can read the instructions and go back to your original tab and implement, or you can ask another question. Let's ask one of the predefined questions. How can I create an invoice? Simply select the question. Oracle will begin to look for the answer. And now the answer is returned. You can look at all the steps and go into how to create an invoice. The supplier portal can really help you get answers quickly. And if you haven't received the answer you need, there's always contacts down at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment so I can end the slideshow, and then we'll go into Oracle. But before I do that, are there any questions? So far, so good? Okay. So you may have noticed that the, can you see my screen? Did I share it?
Can't see, you're not sharing anything right now, Linda.
Okay,
Now
thank
you
you.
are.
Thank you so much. You may have noticed that the login screen, the first page when you log in, has changed a little bit, and this is because the user interface has changed for Oracle. And the first thing we're going to do today is go to Create Invoice, which is up here under Additional Links. So that's how you would start to create an invoice. And right now, this will not be shown on your screen because of our year-end process, where we've put a hold on the ability to create invoice until I believe it's the first of the year. So the first thing I wanted to do is just kind of show you these different areas. And what we're going to do is go into create an invoice. And I know you've created invoices before. I'm just going to go through it for an Oracle invoice and just talk about some features that we want. So the first thing you do is you look for your PO. Whoops. And as you can see, some things are auto-filled. If the remit to bank account isn't filled, you want to look for one and select it. The same with the supplier site. So if this has not been auto-filled, you want to go to your drop-down and select it. We only have one, so it's auto-filled. Use your own invoice numbering system. So I'm going to do invoice. I forget what number I'm on, so I'll just use 15. And the invoice date, I'm going to use today. And everything else, the type is invoice. The key thing is this is how you'll be attaching your documentation that goes with the invoice that you're creating. And a best practice is to at least have 2 documents, one be the invoice and one be the supporting documentation. That way it's a little bit easier for the reviewer to be reviewing the invoice while they're reviewing the supporting documentation. It's not an absolute requirement, but a best practice. So you hit the plus sign and you go to choose file. And you go to attachments, and I'm looking for the invoice here. Here's an invoice, so I'm going to attach that. If you want to attach another file, as you go to the plus, and notice you have two options under this drop down here. You can do a test URL, or you can do, I'm sorry, you can do a text or a URL. We're going to do another file, and I need to turn the sound off. So let me see. Yeah, okay, there we go. And then I'm going to update another file. And let's see, supporting documentation here. Didn't like that. Let's see. It's just bringing up the documentation. So one thing you'll notice is that the title is automatically filled. This will be the title that's used in the history of the invoice. You can add a description if you want to further describe it. It's up to you. But once you're done adding your invoice, your attachments, you just select OK. And you can see now they're added here to the invoice. And if you click the plus sign, you can see what you've added. You also have the opportunity to add more or delete what you've added. The next step is to create the invoice lines. So you go to this icon here that's called Select and Add, and it'll bring up the purchase order lines that you can invoice against. So there's two lines on this purchase order. So I'm going to invoice against both of them. So to select both, you hit the Shift key and then select OK. And it brings up an amount. And that amount is the amount that's remaining on your purchase order that you can invoice against. So you cannot go over it. You can invoice against less or the full amount. So I'm going to invoice against less and put in the amounts. You want to make sure that the total here is right and look everything over. You can either save and close this and submit it later, or you can submit it now. So I'm going to submit it now, and you'll get a message that it's been submitted. And here it's been submitted. All right, so now I'm going to talk about notifications. What happens once it's submitted is it's going to the approver, and if they have any questions from you, they're going to send a notification to you. And there's several ways you'll be notified. The first way is, or one way, is email. And this is a information requested email. It'll come to you. It tells you the amount of the invoice number, and who's requesting information. You can submit information from email, but our best practice is to do it within Oracle. We prefer you do it within Oracle, but this gives you a lot of valuable information to start before you open Oracle. So if you just look at the information that's here, and what she requested is please attach a materials receipt. If you scroll to the bottom, you can see the history of this invoice, where it's been, and who it's with now. So submitted by will always be AP process user because of our initiation process. That's the name that we use. So even though you submitted it, it will always say this. But you can see it went to Mary and she's requesting information from you. Next, it'll go back to Mary and then so on all the way up to Joe. So that's one way to be notified. There's a couple other ways. There's a notification bell here. And if you click on that, you'll see some notifications that are waiting for you. So there's information requested here. Someone changed their password a couple of times, but sometimes if you haven't been in Oracle for a while, or you've been on vacation, these notifications don't stay for a long period of time. So what you need to do is look at your work list, and I'm going to show you how to find your work list. And it's a good practice to do this to make sure that there's nothing else waiting for you. So I selected show all, and then there's a work list tab here. So I can select the work list. And what it's going to bring up is it has the entire history of everything that has been I've been notified for Oracle. So it automatically goes to assigned in the last 7 days. You want what's currently assigned to you, and recommendation is to select all. Let's see. Okay, so this is everything that's in my queue. So now I know that at least there's nothing else waiting for me. So in the bell, as well as in your work list, how you get to your approval notification is you select the blue hyperlink. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to select this blue hyperlink. And this is the information requested notification. So there's a couple ways you can see what the information requested is. You can go to actions and view approvals. And here it is again. Please attach the materials receipt. If you want to attach something else or say something else before you submit information, you can also go and add a comment. And just add a comment and click save. This will become part of the permanent invoice record. I'm going to just say comment. I can also go and add another document if I want to. I'm not going to do that, but I'll show you what it looks like. It shows you what's already in there. This was not the invoice I just did, so I only have one attachment. But when you're ready to submit the information, you want to look at the invoice so you can view the invoice as well and see what's going on with the invoice. And this is exactly what you submitted, and you can review it and see everything that's here. You don't want to take any actions here. You want to select done. And what's going to happen after you view the invoice is you're going to have to go to your tabs at the bottom and find your approval again. So look for this tab. And now you can go and take action and submit the information. So before, when I added the comment, it didn't submit it. It just put it in here. See where my comment is? Same if you added an attachment. The only way that it submits it is if you take the action submit information. So here's my comment. I have attached the materials invoice. I can go and drag files or add an attachment here. So I'm going to add an attachment, and materials receipt is here. I'm adding that attachment. So make sure you have everything that you want to provide before you click submit. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And what happens with that invoice now is that it goes back to the person who requested the information, and everything you just did is part of the record. Any questions so far? Okay.
Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Hi, I did have a quick question. Can you please review again how we would inquire about the status of the invoice that we submitted?
Yeah, I'm going to do that next, actually.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I just mentioned it earlier, and I'm going to do that next. So,
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions before I move on? So to inquire about the status of an invoice, you want to go back to your home page, go back to the supplier portal, and you want to get back to the landing page with all the nice photos on it. And you want to go to invoices. So you can search by any of these items, but you have to at a minimum have one of the starred items here. So you can search for all of your invoices by putting, starting to type your name. And when you do that, if you've done it before, it'll become part of the dropdown. So if I just did this, I would get all invoices I've ever submitted. You can also put in a specific invoice number if you want, but let's go ahead and get every invoice that I've submitted, and I'm going to go search. And this is your history. So there's a lot of information here, and what may not be here is the payment status. So if it's not here, I'm going to show you how you can add it. You go to View, and this is how you manage what you see on your screen. So you go to View Columns, and notice Paid Status is not checked. So if I go up and check it, if I can do that, it'll now show on the screen. And all of these are unpaid because this is our test environment, so we haven't paid anything. But if it was paid, you would have paid. But there's also other information in here, the invoice status, which we'll go through in a minute. But for this, in process means that you have created an invoice and submitted it, and it's in the city's process of review and approval. You might have something that's called a hold, which I'll explain in a minute why it would be on hold. Incomplete means that you started an invoice but never submitted it. So if you want to go back and submit it, you can go back here and select this blue hyperlink, finish it, and then submit it. You'll notice it's rejected, and the city's process is once it's rejected, the city will then follow up and cancel your invoice, but this one hasn't been canceled yet. So that's why you have the rejected status. And then you can also have canceled. And this is whether it was canceled by you, because you can cancel your own invoices before you submit them. You can't cancel them once you've submitted them. Or this could be the city canceled it after it was rejected. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and bring up my PowerPoint again. So I went through these, but I just have them in this presentation as well. I'm not going to go through them again, but when you have access to this presentation, you'll be able to look this slide up. But any questions on the statuses besides the hold, I can go into that next. Is it Lakia or Lakaya?
Yes, Lakia.
Lakia. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and then, but also I would like to know, and I feel like you reviewed this, how do I engage with the city regarding the status, if that makes sense? So for instance, I know I submitted the invoice, I see that it's being processed, I see that it's unpaid, but I have inquiries about when we will receive payments.
So there's, go ahead.
Nope, that's it.
Okay, at the end, I'm going to give you a contact for accounts payable. That's an email address that you would send to find out why something, once it's approved, has not been paid. So either if it's been on hold for a while, or it hasn't been paid for a while and you want to ask why, you can use accounts payable. If you have any questions about the approval process, you can contact your ARPA department rep. And then if you have any questions at all in general about the supplier portal and how to create invoices or how to do something in the portal, you would contact our OCP department. So I'll give you all those emails at the end. And we're also going to be sending a job aid, and it will also be in there.
Got it.
But I
Thank
can
you.
put it in the email as well. You're welcome. So if an invoice is in hold, it doesn't mean that you haven't done something. A lot of times it's because it's just waiting for the city to complete the required steps. So for example, if the invoice has been approved, the next step is to receive the goods. That may not have happened yet. So it will be on hold until the goods are received and until the invoice is validated. But if you see it on hold for a long period of time, definitely reach out to the city. Some key considerations is when you upload the documents, I mentioned making the invoice separate from the supporting documentation. I think it's better organized for the approvers and avoids delays in approvals. The other thing is if you have submitted several invoices for a specific purchase order, if one of those purchase orders has an issue, then we're waiting to get information that maybe wasn't submitted. It could hold up the payment of the other ones. So that's just a reminder to really ensure the supporting documentation is clear and it pertains to that invoice only. So, any questions on that? You guys are an easy audience. Support options, you have the supplier portal advisor, which I went through, and here are for questions on the supplier portal, you contact e-procurement. For receipts and payments is AP invoice, that's for accounts payable, and then ARPA process, you contact your department representative. Again, we're going to be starting this process July 1st. So if you have any questions about the start time, let me know. And if you have any questions in general, because this is all I have today. So if you have any follow-up questions, now's the time to ask them.
Hi, Linda, one more question.
I'm sorry, Joanne. In addition to reaching out to Linda, you can also reach out to me. I think my contact information is included in the packet somewhere. If not, I will add my contact information in the meeting notification after we're done.
Yeah, Joe, I can add that to the job aid that I'm sending out and also the presentation. And then
Sounds
you can
good.
also
Thank you, Linda.
reply if you want with your
Yep.
contact.
Thank you.
Okay.
Linda, Joanne has her,
Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Linda. Thanks for the very thorough presentation, and I look forward to reviewing it when you send it. Quick question about previously submitted. I don't know if you covered that. Is that the previously submitted? I have a couple I'm waiting on for April and May. How will they be handled?
Joe,
You've
can you
already
answer
submitted
that?
those. They're already in the process, so they won't be going through this new process. And those will get paid out according to terms. Anything new or going forward will more than likely be included in this process.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. And then one more question. I believe in the Oracle system, is there only one vendor email contact that can be entered, or are we able to enter a couple like I'm thinking per project? That's my question.
In Oracle, Cedric can answer in chat, but for a supplier, you can have multiple contacts. So
Wonderful.
there's a way to add contacts, and there's a job aid. I'll show you. Let me go back there, but there's a job aid on the supplier portal landing page. There's also, if you ask the portal advisor, or you can ask e-procurement how to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you again.
Sure. Any other questions? I'm going to try and show where those job aids are. Cedric replied with, yes, you can have multiple contacts.
Oh, that's one. Oh,
Oh, Cedric, we can't hear you. Anyhow, in the supplier portal page, there's supplier news, which is always good to read. Here's the announcement about our fiscal year end. It has how to change your bank account information, how to add or remove contacts. Here's how to view invoices, which we went through, and also how to submit a goods invoice and how to submit a service invoice. Are there any other questions, anyone? Laretha?
hello, I do have a quick question. I do have an invoice that I need to submit, but you're stated at this time, no invoices can be submitted.
Correct. E2 or Cedric, what's the date when they can start resubmitting the invoices? I don't have that handy.
Yeah, it's July 1st.
July 1st, okay. Yeah, that's because we're doing our year-end close. And so July 1st, you'll be able to go back in the portal and submit it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, we will follow up with, we will send you the presentation as well as the job aid. We will be sure to include Joe's contact information. We are going to work with our procurement department to see how we can get these videos of the presentation also available to you. And if that's it, you can go ahead and log off, and thank you for your time and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.